Greetings everyone, Disconnected here, and welcome to this tutorial. Today we shall be covering how to make a Minecraft server. Now this is an extensive tutorial and I shall explain, well, technically everything you need to know to host any kind of server, because the basics are the same for everything. So let's get started. Well, first things first, you need a jar file or just an executable which will actually be your server, the application. Now I'll leave this site in the description below. This is called mcversions.net. Now this is basically an archive and has every single version of Minecraft from 1.0, from even the alpha and beta. Now obviously these don't have a server file. You just want to download the server file of the version that you want. Now if you see this, you can go ahead and click on it and it just prompts you to buy a server. Now the point of the entire video is to show you how to make your own server, so obviously not. I'll just host a 1.12 server, because why not? Let's just download it. Pardon my messy browser, and it should start downloading. It's a jar file. I hope you have Java. I seriously don't know why you would be probably hosting a server without Java for Minecraft on Windows. It's pretty obvious. So let's just wait for this to download. Sorry for my slow internet. So, while we're waiting for this, let me just go to the directory, downloads, and I'll be right back when this finishes. Alright, and it has finished. Now you will be prompted with this. This type of file can harm your computer. Do you want to keep blah 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 whatever .jar? Anyway, keep it. It tells you this because it's a jar file and they are generally dangerous files. Like, they could have malicious code in them, they could be viruses, but in this case we know it's just a Minecraft server file. There is nothing malicious about it. So let's go ahead and find it. This is just the original one, and we should have it right here. Okay, so let's copy this file. Just right click copy or Control C, whatever you prefer, and let's go to my servers folder. I already have one hosted. And let's just make a new folder. Now you need to make a folder because this is gonna generate quite some files. So let's just call it random server. So random server, and let's paste it. Brilliant. Now you can click it if you want, but I prefer to create a launch.bat file, and I'll explain why in a bit. Just open Notepad or Notepad++ in my case. Just ignore that, my previous properties, and write this Java. So we call the Java application dash, so we set the property xmx, which says basically the maximum amount of memory it can use in terms of RAM, 1024, which is essentially in megabytes for a gigabyte of RAM, and xms, which is the minimum, again 1024 megabytes. 24, thank you, my keyboard hates me. And this is pretty much setting how much memory the server can use. Now you just say dash again, jar, it's lowercase, to say I want you to execute with these properties, this jar file, and then the name, which is server space parentheses 1.jar. Now in my horrible case it has a space in it, which it shouldn't have in you. If it does, just rename it, because it will be hell on earth to try to write that with Unicode encoding. So just keep it there. Server, perfect, brilliant. Now we just save it as launch, if I could spell right, .bat. Now this is the wrong directory, of course, and just random server. Save it there. And I made a horrendous mistake. No, okay, it's fine. Okay. I would suggest you to not do what I just did, and when you're saving it, come up here and select all types. Don't let it to normal text file, because it could theoretically save as a text file. So just mind that. Okay, now why did I just do that? Why did I waste like a minute of your time doing this? Well, a lot of the time you may come upon an issue where you may run your server and it will either be slow or it will not launch at all. Now this happens because Java has a restriction on the amount of memory it allows you to use. So by doing this, you can control how much memory you want it to actually use. You may want it to use only 512 megabytes, less than a gigabyte. You may want it to use more than a gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes, regarding of how you want to use it. Perhaps you want to have 100 players in it, so you will obviously need more than this to run it. It's completely up to you. I just think it would be more appropriate. It gives you more freedom. Now, some of you may have seen this in other tutorials, perhaps you've searched before. This. Don't do this. Don't ever write the term no GUI in the BAT file for a very important reason, which I'll show you in just a bit. If we double click this, we come up with this command prompt, which essentially, okay, right now it will quit, but under normal circumstances, let me just show you in my other server, it will launch, you'll wait for a bit, and it will prompt you up with these two things. With no GUI, you only get this one, which you may say it's fine, sure thing, they just display the same thing. They actually don't. Firstly, here you have the memory usage, which is really important. Secondly, if I type here a command, HE, for example, just a random command, and then I come here and I say hi, my command has been overwritten, and I have an enter here. So I write a new command now, which is really annoying. I don't know if they fixed it. Apparently here they haven't, and apparently they will never do. And it makes sense because, well, it just overrided what you wrote. And this is really annoying because imagine someone typing in the chat all the time stuff while you're trying to code here. And this is really annoying. Well, here you have a dedicated bar. They can do whatever they want. You can still write whatever you want here. You can see the players that are online, real time. You can see the memory usage. You can see everything. It's just more convenient for everyone's sake, essentially. Just for you to be able to do your job. Why did this not stop? Stop. It didn't. I'm too annoyed to do this. Okay. I'll show you how to stop the actual server. I believe you all know the /stop command. It's just that my servers are pretty glitchy. That's due to, well, command blocks. Just don't use too many of them. Anyway, so when you launch it for the first time, this will happen. It will launch and it will instantly quit without giving you any warning. Now, no, you haven't done anything wrong. You need to come to this file called EULA. This stands for End User License Agreement. And you must agree to this. If you want to read it, this is the link. I'll put it in the description below, but I believe everyone will find it in their own files. If you want to read it, go ahead, but you need to agree to this. So you need to replace that false section with true. Do so, just close it, and relaunch it. And you will be prompted with, well, the normal, at this point, UI of the server. The normal interface. So you'll have to wait for a while for this to load, to spawn an area world, depending on how much memory you gave it, how strong is your PC, etc. Apparently mine has loaded, so let's just stop it for now. See, the command there worked. And this is basically everything you need to download. This is everything you need to do to create your server. Now, we need to make sure that your server is available online, because currently it isn't. So you need to come to here, Server Properties, and right-click it. Open it with Notepad. I personally use Notepad++. I will leave a link to the description below for this one, because it's just more convenient. Just say yes. There's no real point to that. Come here. Okay. This is how your server.properties should look like. It's just a bunch of properties for your server. It will just say if you allow people to go to the nether, your IP, which I'll get to in a bit, your seed if you want to have one, your level type amplified, default, super flat. If you want to, I don't know, spawn animals, if you perhaps you don't want animals, hardcore, whatever, just everything's here. Okay? So, sorry for that. Right here, we have only 2 settings of interest. Only 2. These 2 settings of interest are server IP and server port, which, like here, should be one above the other, and it is clearly not. Just port, for the love of God. There it is, thank you. Sorry for that, my eyesight is horrible. You can blame that to me. Okay, so this is the server port. This is the default Minecraft server port, 25565. There is no real point in changing this. It's the default. I don't see a reason for you to change this. Just leave it as it is. If you want to change it to something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go ahead. It's your freedom, your right to do so. Just, I don't see the point. Anyway, keep it as it is. What we're interested at the moment is this, server IP. You need to enter in here your IPv4 address, and I'll explain what that is in a bit. So let's go here onto the start, like, search bar with their trump right there, and let's enter CMD. Command prompt. You don't need to run it as administrator or anything. You just admin or not, it will work. And type this command, ipconfig. Now, IP stands for Internet Protocol, and config for, obviously, configuration. So what you're telling your computer is, show me the configuration for the Internet Protocol. And this is what you should get. Some of you may not have VirtualBox, obviously, or something like that, so you may not have as many things as I have here, but you should have this. This is all you care about. Ethernet, perhaps you have Wi-Fi, and it will just say something different here. But this is what you're looking for. Your IPv4 address is the address that you have for your local network. Your local network is basically the network that is enclosed, should I say, by your router. Everything that's connected to your router directly is in your local network. And everything in the network has an IPv4 address, so your router knows to who it's talking to. This is only your address in the network, no one else has this. So your router knows that this is you, this is your PC. And this is exactly what we want to tell the server, that this is where you're hosted on, my IP. So mine is 192.168.0.11, as you can clearly see here. Everyone's IP could be different, it could be perhaps the same for if you leave it as a default. This could change. I will show you how to set it static in a bit. But this, and I repeat, this is not what you will give to your friends. Your friends will get your wide network IP, your WAN, which is the IP of your router. This is exactly why we need the port in the first place. Essentially, you give them your WAN IP, which is this one, by the way, and this is the site, I'll leave it in the description. You give them this, which is like your global address. Imagine it like your address in your physical home. And they're coming here to your home. They're trying to knock on the port 25565, because imagine it being like your door. And they come to essentially the street. They find your house, which is this. And then they try to knock on your door. Now, if you don't open the door through port forwarding, they can't get in. Imagine it like that. So this is the global IP, this is the local IP, and this is the port that they will use to get to this local IP. Into your server. So this is the most important part of the puzzle. And this is where all the wrong things will happen. Every mistake will possibly happen to this one port. That's where the issues usually lie in. Anyway, enough rambling about that. let me show you how to make your IPv4 static, so you don't have to change it, because certain people, by default, in Microsoft has set it to, well, just grab a random IP, because why not? We don't want you to have apparently a static one. Just come here, go to your network settings, or your regular settings, whatever. Come to the network and internet, and then I want you to go to Network and Sharing Center and change adapter settings. Okay? Now come to your Ethernet adapter, properties, okay, right click, properties. If you're not an administrator, you need to get administrative privileges. That's why, hold on. That's why there is this shield here. Then you need to come down here to the Internet Protocol version 4, the IPv4, which is exactly what we want. Select properties. Yours should be like this. Okay? Just come here, use the following IP address, set the IP you want, 168. Mine is, I want to keep it the same, 0.11. Just click here, and it should be just autofilled, and then your gateway, which you can find here. Okay? Set it to 192.168.0.254 for my case. Now, mind you, when you're entering your IPs, make sure that this middle number, this for me is 0, but for you could be anything. Could be 1, 2, 10, 100. Just keep it the same as you see here. It's really important. Okay, when you do that, you need to come down here and just say 2 DNS servers. These are the servers that your computer will use, my computer will use, anyone's computer will use to see if it's online. So we'll set it to 8.8.8.8, which is the first Google DNS server, and then we'll just set it again to another Google server, which is 8.8.4.4. These are standard at this point. They're always online. There is no point for you to set it to something else. Just set it to this one. It's the global standard at this point. Just click OK and close, and it should either just go offline for a second, or it will just be ready to run. If you want to see if it worked, just retype the command. If you want to know how I did this, just press the up arrow button, and it will instantly refill it with the last command you executed. And just press enter, and you'll see that it worked. Good job. Now, let's go back to the server. I came here, we entered the IP. If your port isn't filled up, just type 25565 in. Everything's fine, everything is grand. Alright, you just need to save it. Your configuration is done. If you want to rename your server, please do. It's up to you. The rest is just game related stuff, not server related stuff. It's just for your gameplay. So now we need to do the one very crucial thing, port forwarding. Now the term may sound a bit scary, but it actually isn't. It's pretty simplistic. So let's get right to it. What you need to do this is your default gateway. This is the IP of your router essentially. This is the IP that you will use to access your router and tell it, unlock this port, allow people to get in. So let's type it in the browser, 192.168.0.254. Now I've typed it so many times that my browser already knows what I'm going to type, from like the first digit. Now, everyone's interface will be a bit different, but this should be the basic layout, the username and password. Now, if you don't know your credentials, what's your username, what's your password, it should be written on a little label under your router or behind it. It should be stuck somewhere which it cannot be easily seen. Just search a bit onto your router and you should find it. It should say what your username and password is. And just type them on here. If you can't find them, just Google it. The default passwords are either just password with lowercase or just nothing. I personally changed the password just to make it safe and log in. Now, hold on just a second. You should be prompted the first time you log in into this section, the home section. Now, you don't do anything here, just leave it as it is, and just come here to the internet section, or to what some people may have renamed as firewall section. Some people call it internet, other routers have it as a firewall section, whatever. Just go there. Then any selection bar, it could be here, it could be long, it could be just below or above the tabs, it could be anywhere really. Just click on the port forwarding section, wherever on the screen it may be. Now, as you can see, I've already forwarded it, but for the tutorial's sake, let's delete it for now. So, you need to press the create port forwarding item, or just port forward. It should just have some really obvious name with a plus symbol next to it or something. It will be either really below here or just somewhere on the main screen so you can see it. Just click on it and you should get an interface close to this with a name, protocol, one connection, and all the below. Name, this doesn't really matter, just call it whatever you want, just random, it could be anything, you could call it carrot, you could call it Pokemon, just call it whatever you want. I'm just gonna call it Minecraft server parentheses 25565. So I know what the port is and I know what the use of this entry is. Protocol, always set it to TCP and UDP. It is really important that you do so, because Minecraft uses both in order to successfully allow someone to connect. Now leave one host start IP behind, everything is just fine with it. Mark mapping, you probably will never use this, just leave it off. LAN host IP is your IPv4. So it's minus 192.168.0.11. Again, if you want to find it, just click on command prompt. Don't close this because it's really important again. So you don't have to, again, come here, CMD, and reopen it. Just retype the command a million times. Just leave it open and just type your IPv4 if you don't remember it. Again, this is your way of telling the router that yes, give this port that I'm gonna type in a bit over here to this address and only to this address. So everyone who uses this port always comes to you and only to you. So the port is 25565. 25565. Now you may be wondering, why am I typing this twice? Well, this is a range. You perhaps want to, let's take a simpler example that's not 5-digit or something. Perhaps you want to forward port 1 only. Then you just say from port 1 to port 1. If you want to forward port 1 until port 3, for example, then do this. And this statement will forward all ports from port 1 to 3. So port 1, 2, and 3 will be all forwarded simultaneously. This is something people have added in, so you don't have to make a million different entries for each port. You can just add a range and everything works just fine. In terms of Minecraft, you only need to use really one, just 25565, just type it in there. Do the exact same thing for the LAN host, and this will also fail, and you're golden. If you want to forward a range, and you just type 7 in there, it will automatically be corrected in there, so don't you worry about it. This is all you need to know, all you need to do really, and just click apply. We just wait for the changes to actually be applied, and my data has been stored. Make sure it's on, because some routers like mine have the option to just turn something off. And this should be it. Now note this down. You cannot give a port to more than one IPs. You can't have your IP and then IP 32, for example, have the exact same port. It's either your IP or that IP. Jesus Christ. If you try to forward the same port for a different IP while it's already on yours, for example, it will give you an error. It will tell you that the port is already forwarded and you should try to do something else. Just use another port. And it's rational if you think about it. So each connection can know that it will come only to this address and not to somewhere else. So things don't get confused. Now with this done, you really don't need to do anything else. You can just leave it there or log out or whatever. Doesn't really matter. Now you're almost done. essentially not almost, you are done. This is all you need to do. You can just double click it now, let it launch, and boom. Your server is online. When it says done, it has finished loading. That's what it means, obviously. You can now tell your friends this IP, which is your global. Now you may see this, IPv4. You can obviously tell that, I closed the command prompt. Just IP config. You can obviously see that this is not your IPv4 address. It just says so due to the fact that your router has itself another IP address with respect to your ISP, to your internet service provider. So your internet service provider sees your router as the exact same way that your router sees your computer. So it will assign your router an IPv4 address. That's why it calls it IPv4 here. You know, this may sound a bit confusing, just scrape it off your mind, it doesn't really matter. I'm just letting it out there for the people that actually care about this. Just grab this IP and give it to any friend of yours. Now, just to make sure that your setup is correct, launch your server, okay, just keep it online, and come to this website. This website right here, canyouseeme.org, is essentially a website that you just enter. It automatically knows what your IP is, which, as you can see, it's the same. So again, there's no point in the IPv4 part here, just ignore it. And you just set a port there, and it will tell you if something is running on that port. So if it can see your server, essentially. Now, if it cannot, it will give you this error. I could not see your service on this port, and it will give you the reason, connection timeout, obviously. There's nothing to accept your connection. There is no server. Now that the server is running, I found the cause of the error. Sorry about that, a bit embarrassing, but I'm kinda glad this actually happened, so I could explain to you why this happened. Well, if we go back to the router, just enter your default gateway. We went through and over that previously, and you come from the home section that you should be in to management and diagnosis, or whatever it's called. It could be called device management, it could be, there's something about the device. These are the standards usually. You need to reboot your device. Now, why do you need to reboot your device? Well, if you do actually heavily use your router, you do a lot of port forwarding. It may not be shown here for me because I only have 3 ports forwarded at the moment, but I used to have a lot more than this. I generally make a heavy use of the router. If you heavily use it, or perhaps you don't, but usually this happens to heavy users, you may need to reboot your device so it takes a hold of the reconfiguration you just did. You just need to reboot it so it checks again, because sometimes it could glitch out. These things happen. These are just computers. Your router is essentially just another computer. It could have an error. It could make an error. It's normal. So just reboot it if it doesn't work. And again, mind you, check if you haven't mistyped anything. This could happen as well. It could be a human error. It happens a lot. Just check it, reboot your device, check it all, and it should be fine. Now I'm going to demonstrate that this actually works now. Coming to, well, not my recordings, obviously. Coming here, Notepad++, server port still the same, server IP still the same. The rest is just for gameplay's sake. If we go ahead and launch it. Again, the exact same command. I haven't changed a thing. Done. And if you come here, check port, and success. You should get this message. If you get this, it means that everyone in the outer world can see you, your friends can join you. Just give them this IP right here, and they should be able to join you just fine. Okay, now I'm going to show you an error that will occur to most of you, if not to all of you. If you have this, if you have it successfully. It can see you. Everything is fine, everything is golden. You grab your IP and you come in here and you go ahead and paste it in, and you come up with this. It tells you what locally your server is online. This is my IPv4 address, as you could clearly tell. I've shown it a million times by now. So yeah, that's my IPv4, and it can locally see me, but online it cannot. And you're like, well, this tells me I'm online. Why can't I log in from my global IP? Well, if you try to actually log in, it won't tell you, for example, just put some gibberish in there. Connecting to stuff. It won't tell you unknown host or failed to connect for some random reason, or it couldn't resolve host name. It will just tell you it couldn't connect to the server. And this is because if you look at the error message, connection refused. Now, why was the connection refused? Essentially, your router considers it irrational for you to connect to your ISP to get out of your network, only for your ISP to resend you back into your own network, because you are hosting the server. So you're essentially going out of the network so you can just relog in back in from the outer port, which your router finds completely stupid, so it tells you, well, I'm not going to allow you to do that. It's a part of the protocol not to allow you to do that. So it tells you just log in from your IPv4 and everything is fine. Now I repeat, it will not allow you to do so just from your own local PC. So just if any of your friends are locally, give them your IPv4. If any of your friends are outside of your house, outside of your network, just give them your global IP, this one, and everything should be fine. Let's just join in, logging in, loading terrain, everything is fine, nice and dandy, and that is pretty much it. Oh, come on. Okay, let's not get killed. That is pretty much it. Your server is pretty much online, regardless of this, and if you don't believe me, just try it. Tell your friends to join you, and they will be able to do so. As soon as this tells you you're online, then your friends will be able to tell you that you're online as well, because it essentially checks if you are online. That's the whole purpose of the site. That's pretty much it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions for any other videos, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you in another video. Farewell.